So around 2010, we started seeing the Tesla Roadster hype. And if you look at it just based on specifications, you're like, this power plant, we should be able to put this in other cars. We just kind of started a project, kind of like a technical exercise to see if we could actually build our own, kind of homebrew electric race car.
Hi there, I'm Jehu Garcia, your host. Usually I'm a YouTube vlogger that explores electric cars and battery technology. That's why I'm here today at EV West. I'm going to show you how they convert a classic car into an electric vehicle. Let's go. Hey Michael, what's up, man?
Jehu, good to see you.
Yeah. So, is this a new project?
Yeah, this is what I was telling you about. 1957 Porsche Speedster. It's a replica made by Vintage Speedsters in Hawaiian Gardens. Really nice and lightweight. These fiberglass ones, they use the Volkswagen pan, so all of our fitment parts are going to go right into it. We're going to use the brand new Tesla Model S batteries, so we're going to get over 100 miles range out of this car, but still keep it really lightweight. We only have about a 260-pound battery in this, very light. And we're putting a brand new motor in it, brand new motor out of Germany. It's a synchronous reluctance, internal permanent magnet motor.
What?
I know that's a mouthful, but it's a high efficiency motor and it's the brand new technology. Basically, it has tons of torque. We're going to have about 175 foot-pounds at the rear wheel.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to be fun to drive again. It's going to be worthy of its name, a Porsche Speedster.
It's going to be a Speedster.
Yeah.
All right, who's doing this one?
Trent's going to do this one for us. Yeah, he's our most experienced technician, and we expect a real clean one.
All right, let's get him on it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hi, my name is Trent, and I am the lead technician at EV West. I'll be doing the conversion on this here 1957 replica Speedster.
Let's lift it.
Oh man, well, we have a replica Speedster in our shop, probably one of the first fiberglass cars I've done. But pretty good quality from what I've seen underneath.
Usually the first step in a conversion is to remove the old gasoline engine. But this project here is what it's known as a roller. It's basically a car that is sold to the customer without a motor. So the next step is engineering.
Trent, what do we have to engineer for this car?
When it comes to engineering on one of these cars, you need to do a lot of initial measuring, and a lot of times that determines what type of battery or what configuration of battery that you use, because if you're going to try and fit, say, like a Model S battery in one of these cars, a lot of times it just won't fit because of the form factor. So that's a big consideration, especially on a small car like this, which is 11-inch shorter wheelbase than a Volkswagen Beetle.
Choosing the right batteries for these projects is very important. Some are small and light, but very powerful, which are great for high-performance vehicles, while others can store a lot of energy and are great for daily drivers. This particular build is going to be a bit of both. Quick and light, but it's also going to have 100 miles of range, as it's using battery modules that came off a Tesla Model S car.
Before I do any placement in the car, I try and mock up everything in 3D on the computer in a CAD program. And that helps me to get most of the dimensions figured out and know exactly how much distance I have between, say, the front of the batteries and the back of the motor, and actually put that into a real-time dimension in the car. I'm lucky in this scenario because now we have a lot of parts off the shelf that we use in a lot of these conversions, such as our adapter plate for the Volkswagens. They're all billet, and it just makes my life so much easier. I can grab something off the shelf, bolt it up, and I can have a motor in the car in under an hour. So let's install the front battery box. One of of the challenges with this car is that we're putting a lot of new technology into each of these. In these battery boxes in particular, they're getting a battery management system, which takes up a little bit more real estate, as well as maintenance and safety switches inside the battery boxes as well, which here again, it's more cabling, it's just more components inside, and so that means you need to be more diligent about assembling this battery box in 3D so you don't get all your batteries stuffed in it, spend a bunch of money on fabrication of the actual box, and not be able to fit anything after that. We got our front box in today with a little modification to our bracketry underneath, but in the end it was a nice snug fit and we didn't have to cut any more fiberglass than we intended to in the beginning.
Looks like we're gonna burn the midnight oil. All right, day 2. We start with the huddle.
In the dirt. Like,
Yeah,
you know, all the sand guys do it because you can valve it, and instead of having like the coil.
Okay, now let's do some work in the back battery box area. So for instance, in this car, we're putting an entire battery box behind the firewall because we wanted to retain the rear seat, and so we had to get creative with where we're putting batteries in this car.
Usually the battery boxes are the most engineering intensive part of the build.
Okay, I think we're ready to go in. Cross your fingers.
Being the biggest and heaviest part of the conversion, securing battery boxes to the car's frame marks a major milestone on these type of projects.
Whatever the normal fit. Yeah, right? It's in. Okay, I think it's time to put the motor in. In all, this car is getting a few new components that I haven't installed yet. This will be my first time installing the SME motor, the synchronous reluctance motor that we really like. Good looking as well as good power. So first up, we're gonna put our bell housing adapter onto our electric motor.
This is a custom-made piece of aluminum that adapts the electric motor to the original transmission.
This will take a minute to do, but it's all necessary. Next, our coupler goes onto the shaft. We put this on the hot plate to expand the steel so it slips onto the shaft easier. Try and get it at 420. Alright, so this is a little bit of anti-seize just in case the coupler ever needs to come off. Makes it a little bit easier on you. Our 1/4" key goes into the keyway. Alright, now we're ready for our coupler. Nice and hot.
Before installing the custom-made aluminum flywheel, a guide bearing has to be pressed in.
A little center bearing in the flywheel. This keeps the input shaft from wobbling inside the bell housing.
Around you.
So next to go on is our flywheel. And because this is a tolerance fit, I'm gonna heat it up as well. Right on. First I say that, I might have to pull off. So what I'm doing here is just getting any oil on the actual clutch friction surface off before the whole assembly goes together. Our clutch disc goes on with the aid of our little clutch alignment tool here. Next up after the clutch is our pressure plate.
Each click means the bolt has reached the predetermined torque setting.
Number 6. We're ready to mate to our transmission.
It's always a good idea to check on the bench for any coupling issues, as it could save a lot of trouble later.
Yeah, so maybe.
Or lift this
With everything working as it should, it's time to install everything on the car.
Granny's in, just like that. So, since we don't have a starter motor anymore, or rather we're just attaching a big starter motor, we use these little guys, starter block off plate. Our trusty toolbox here. Alright, so Wednesday night, I still have a few components to put in. Some of the biggies are the charger, charge port, contactor box, a bunch of cabling. So we ultimately have about 2 to 2.5 days left to wire this entire car. So it will be tight, but ultimately we'll get it done. Test off our new technology there. I'll definitely be calling in some help. A good buddy Saul. Beer? Alright, so at the end of the day today, we got our 2 battery boxes in, the transmission, the motor, and controller on top, which is a really good haul for one day. Now 5 o'clock's hit, I think it's time to go get a frosty one.
Right, let's do that. I think they're outside. Come on, batteries. Remember last year there was an EV company bankruptcy and we were able to group buy one whole pallet of brand new in-factory packaging made in Korea LG 18650 cells? Well, this year we got 10 pallets. So this deal is pretty similar to last year's in that a very popular EV company went bankrupt. Luckily, EV West was able to secure such large inventory of some of the best 18650s you can currently buy. More than 150,000 of Panasonic 18650 BDs rated at 3200 milliamp hours and BTC 6s rated at 3000 milliamp hours with a 15 amp continuous rating. For the past few days, the EV West team has been working to convert this 1957 Porsche Speedster into a fully electric vehicle, and today is the deadline. You see, EV West has been invited to participate in this year's Encinitas Christmas Parade, and the team is determined to have the Speedster be part of it. Can they finish it on time?
So currently we have bare minimum throttle pedal, some cabling, and of course we need to check mechanical stuff like brakes, make sure they work okay. Cabling's probably gonna take the most time, so I better get jamming on that.
For safety, all the high voltage wiring is this high visibility orange color.
In all, this car is getting a few new components that I haven't installed yet. This will be my first time installing a new charger we haven't dealt with yet called a Thunderstruck charger. And here again, a little bit smaller form factor for the same power as we typically use in one of these chargers. They're just air-cooled chargers, but if you can get them smaller and lighter, then that means you're more efficient. It's pretty. Alright, so where we're at with a couple hours to go is we've got 2-aught cable to run still, which are the main power leads. We need to wire up the throttle, and then I think we're ready to fire it off and see if the car runs. So that'll be the first startup, probably less than an hour before we need to be there. So kind of close.
Luckily, these guys are used to working under tight deadlines.
Yeah, this whole thing can go.
The commonly used throttle pedal for these projects doesn't quite fit on this car, so time to find another one. Sometimes you just need a part that doesn't exist yet, so you just print it.
Another component we're putting in this car we haven't done yet is the battery management system. And that monitors all your cells to make sure you're never at a dangerous state of charge, or basically just keeps your batteries safe, which is a big deal because that's a large portion of the cost of these conversions. Oh, we're repurposing Tesla BMS boards as our own.
Oh, so you're using the Tesla module, so you gotta use the connectors too.
Right, yeah, because these connectors aren't commercially available. Trying to make some sparks.
At this point, all the essential high power connections get made. They require special attention and concentration, as these orange cables carry levels of power equivalent to those required to run a commercial sized building. At those levels of power, any loose or dirty connection can be the cause of extra resistance, which in turn causes high levels of heat. So no cutting corners in this step. This hydraulic crimp tool allows for consistency across all the connections.
Another thing we're installing that kind of enhances the ease of ownership is something called an EVCC. It's a electric vehicle charge controller, and that monitors what your car's doing in the charging state, charging at the top and at the bottom, and will put you in a limp mode if you're at a dangerous state of charge. So it's a little bit more like a VCU. It gives your car a little bit of added safety factor, a little bit more brains. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
With the start of the Christmas parade nearing, the rest of the guys in the shop decide to lend a hand.
How did you want the me to run the cables here? Underneath the carpeting there, is there somewhere?
Oh, no, you just flop them out. 35 pin here and all.
Where's the diagram?
Yeah. So I should be there, so I'm going to take off. But you know, the parade starts at 5:30, but by the time that spot 80 moves, it's like 6 o'clock, 6:30. You know, it's like an hour after the parade starts.
One of my friends is at a chili cook-off at San Diego Camp. All right. Well, despite all the good help we got from the guys in the shop here, we're not going to make the show, and that's okay. We're still going to go and support all of our customers that have cars in it. We were just a few components away, and stuff that you don't want to cut corners on, like throttle pedal, and 12-volt system is necessitated to get running. So just a few things held us back, but I'll come in Monday and bang it out. I thought this was a family event. Oh, man.
So we didn't get the Porsche done in time for the Christmas parade, but we took 6 other cars down there, and the city of Encinitas, like a lot of cities, really embraces the electric cars. So they gave us 6 spots in the parade to kind of show off our work, and we really would have liked to have the Porsche down there, but it just wasn't in the cards this time.
So yeah, we wound up not making it, which is kind of a bummer because it was nice to meet your goals, but in the end, I think, you know, we kind of went on the side of safety.
So the next step with the car would be, after the parade, to just have a little bit of time, work on the aesthetics, finish up. You know, we're gonna do a carpet kit up front and some of the other little detail work.
What's happening here?
Correct. The adjusters on the spring plates are basically, they don't have enough adjustment, so we have to reclock the rear arm so we can get more height out of it to clear the wheel wells.
Gonna fire it up for the first time?
Oh yeah, here we go. Check all of our switches. All right, so close the door. Okay, first try. Here's the pump.
So then after that point, we just need to finish programming, and that's about a week or two. And at that point, we can go ahead and start doing the long range testing to make sure we know exactly how many miles the car is going to be able to go.
Wow.
Well, I think it's time for a road test. Range testing for us is basically we drive it around in everyday scenarios. So it means really that you have to go sit in traffic, go on the highway, open it up, and really try and get something to brake if it can, and just make sure that you're not going to get stranded anywhere. I mean, that's really important. We look for actual usable miles, right? We're not hypermiling, we're not sitting behind a semi-truck or something on the freeway just to say we can get 200 miles out of the car. This is like a real, actual usable number. One of my favorite routes is right by the beach, and you can go up and down the 101, and that way you are sitting in the stop and go traffic, so where if something's going to heat up, it'll do it there. And then you can also, there's stretches where you can open it up a bit and just make sure that everything is fine under load, because that's important.
So, you know, we get asked that, like, what's the importance of all this so much? And I think here at our shop anyways, we just want to show that it can be done. You know, the best way to lead is by example. And if we can do this stuff and, you know, convert these cars in a couple weeks and make the process easier, especially with some new parts that we're coming out with that will really make it easy for your just normal weekend shade tree mechanic to convert a car. And I think that's ultimately the goal. And while we're on our way to achieving that goal, we're converting cars along the way.
So I'm an optimist. I'd like to think that the future is bright, and that's the reason why I like electric cars.
Why electric cars? I still haven't found anything that can put out like 200 foot-pounds in this little teeny tiny box, you know, and for us it's performance and drivability. Like everybody here is just really into driving classic cars, and that's, you know, the environmental benefits are amazing, and that's not lost on us, but if you lead with that, you don't get people as excited as kind of leading with, you know, performance. Everybody loves a faster car. The side effect of that is you have a sustainable car. You can charge it on solar and essentially drive it around, and it's not polluting, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Is that full throttle?
Yeah, not there, no, but I'm taking him.
Let's do a drag race. Here's the GT against my DIY monstrosity that I built. Ready, set, go. What?